You're listening to the SoleStrategies podcast hosted by the team here at SoleStrategies. We hope you like the latest episode and thanks for tuning in.
Alrighty, everybody. Let's give some people some time to get in here. And we're going to chat. Okay. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the SoleStrategies podcast. Today, we're just going to have some one-on-one time with me, your favorite podcast host, and dig into some of the stuff that's been going on in the news this week and in the wonderful world of politics. So, as most of you all know, the impeachment trials have begun, and it is some very interesting things going on there, to say the least. Both sides of the aisle presented their opening statements, starting with the House manager, who went in and showed some really, really convincing evidence. We were shown footage from the insurrection, which a lot of Republican lawmakers were fighting tooth and nail for us not to be able to see, because they knew that it would make such a compelling case. And that it did, ladies and gentlemen. That it absolutely did. And it really brings up a lot of questions as to what really happened in the Capitol that day. And it just shows how much of those questions are still very much unanswered. It's clear that Donald Trump needs to be impeached. Like, the whole Republican defense is that it's unconstitutional to impeach someone who's out of office. But again, the reasons why we're even trying to get him impeached is so that he will be permanently banned from running ever again, and so that he can lose some of the benefits that come with being a former president, such as lifelong security detail and things like that. You know, inciting an insurrection is something that is not to be toyed with, and it's actually crazy that we still have Republican lawmakers trying so hard to fight to protect this man when he almost let democracy crumble right before our very eyes. So, in the opening statements, the House manager showed videos of some of the things that happened. A video was shown of Officer Eugene, who helped escort senators away from the insurrectionists. And then there were also word-for-word videos played back of some of the things that Donald Trump was saying that were inciting the violence. And his lawyers were so taken aback and flabbergasted by what he said that they pretty much had to change their whole entire defense on the fly. And in their opening dialogue, they said straight up, like, we were planning to go one direction, but unfortunately, this evidence is so compelling that we're going to have to change our entire line of defense. And even to this day, we still have Republicans who have drawn a hard line in the sand and are saying no matter what comes about, no matter how convincing the evidence is, they are not going to switch sides and they are not going to vote to convict. One Republican senator did come out and say that because the evidence was so compelling and because the Trump lawyers did not do a good job at persuading him otherwise, that he's going to have to do the right thing, which is go with his conscience and go with what, the law presents. And fortunately for us, those of us who want to see him impeached, that means that he's going to go along with it. But, I'm still doubtful that that's going to be enough senators to sway anything. So that leads us to our next point.
Hey, you're listening to the SoleStrategies podcast. Take a moment to listen to some of our esteemed champions and their takeaways from the program.
Thank you, Z and Michael, and everybody else in SoleStrategies for, one, reaching out and making sure that we are all part of something bigger and giving us the resources that we may not have even looked for.
Head over to SoleStrategies.com now to find out more information.
What is it about this president that has that has the Republican Party so in disarray and abandoning their so-called values and morals so much. For the longest of time, we've been told that this is the party of law and order, that we don't play with law breaking, we don't play around with criminals, we take these things very seriously, and if anybody does anything, then they should be punished to the fullest extent of the law. And now we're seeing that they are just completely abandoning that mindset totally. And it just shows you that a lot of these tools weren't actually about criminal justice, weren't actually about fighting for the law. It was just about being devices, racist, or whatever. They just don't mean a lot of this stuff. You know, they were quick to call Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama and all of these people treasonous, yet they were so easily swayed to go against their so-called morals and values so quickly. So that's just very interesting to see. But, you know, this is a developing matter. The impeachment trials are still going on, and I'm sure we're going to get even more compelling evidence. Hopefully, it'll be enough to change some of the hearts and minds of Republicans on the other side, but who knows? It's honestly scary seeing some of this footage because you only saw one or two police officers actually there trying to protect the senators, and it makes you question, how deep does this rabbit hole really go? How many people on the inside were a part of this, and how much of a conspiracy was this insurrection really? Because we know the president had a hand in it. We know that his supporters wanted this, and we know that his supporters in office wanted this, but how many people really had a hand in making sure this went down? How many people really had those violent intentions? How many lawmakers knew about this beforehand? How many of these police officers knew about this and purposely allowed for it to go down? Like, a lot of questions are being arisen, and I hope that we can really get to the bottom of this, because it's scary. It's scary as hell to see where we are as a country and where we're going. And, you know, thank goodness some positive things have been coming out of our new presidency, but it's just clear that this is just a big part of the country, and a lot of these thoughts are not going away. A lot of these people are not going anywhere, and they feel how they feel. So, in other news, we have Fox News getting sued. They played a big hand in this entire conspiracy, because the reason why a lot of these people felt bold enough to even do this insurrection and even storm the Capitol is because the media failed us. And this makes me more concerned about just the state of our media as a whole, right? Because as a democracy, you can't have a true democracy without an informed electorate. And you can't have an informed electorate if our news media isn't doing their job in telling the truth. We have gotten to the point where media, especially right-wing media, has become so biased and so clear with their agenda that it is poisoning the minds of our people to the point that it would encourage them to do things like this. The bottom line is, if Fox News, if OAN, if all of these people weren't so busy trying to play both sides and kill the nonsense, they should have killed the nonsense instead of keeping this nonsense going by trying to placate to certain audiences because they're afraid that they'll lose viewership or money. If they had kept it honest, this insurrection likely may not have happened, because if people were able to tune into Fox, which that's never going to happen, but let's pretend in La La Land perfect world that Fox was able to report real news, maybe people wouldn't have thought that this election was stolen, and maybe they wouldn't have stormed the Capitol. But to say all of that, I'm saying Fox News had a very large hand in spreading all of the disinformation about the election fraud. And they're currently being sued by one of the companies who makes the voting equipment. So it's really going to be interesting to see how that plays out. I definitely think that there needs to be some sort of regulations in who is allowed to call themselves a news organization and who is not. Because at this point, we just have people on TV spewing their opinions, and people are taking it as fact. And when you have one side just straight telling you lies, and all you're doing is living in this news media echo chamber where you're only hearing lies, then that makes it hard to even become informed, because this is all you know and this is all you've heard. We should get to a point where if you're going to call yourself a news organization or a news station, you shouldn't be able to get on there and just spew nonsense and talk about whatever you want and just say whatever you want. Because yes, thankfully, companies are suing them for libel because they just lied. But at this point, the damage is already done. That company's not going to lose any money, but people did lose their lives that day. And our democracy is on the brink of crumbling because people have been misinformed for such a long period of time. And it's time for us to intervene on a federal level and get some of these regulations back. Like, I'm all for free speech. Like, we should all have that, First Amendment, whatever. That's very important. We don't want that to go away. But at the same time, news organizations need to be held accountable. Journalism needs to be what it used to be and not allowed for you to just get on there and just say things that are lies, say things that are not true. There needs to be some type of journalistic integrity reinstated so that maybe we can have less instances like this in the future. And that was another thing. Like, it's sad that when a news organization does tell you the truth, you're called a radical left-wing organization, or people both sides of the issue. Well, that's just the liberal point of view, or that's just this side point of view. It's the side of the truth. And if the truth happens to have a liberal bias, then so be it. But the truth is the truth. And we can't be mad because people want to get on television or write about the truth. It is what it is. The truth shouldn't have such a negative connotation to it. And people shouldn't have to both sides the news. Like, the truth isn't one-sided. There's only one side to the truth. And we need to get back to that. Or else we're going to have more instances like this, and our democracy will fall. So that's all I got for you guys today. Next week, we're going to have a special guest and dive deeper into some of these issues. But I appreciate you guys for tuning in today, hearing a little bit about what I have to say. One final point that I do want to make before I sign off. We have to continue to keep fighting for progressive voices to get elected into office, because that's really where the bottom line to all these issues are, right? We have people in office that unfortunately just do not agree with us, do not want progress or change or any type of upward mobility in this country. They are very happy with the systems that we have in place, and they will do anything to keep those systems in place and block change and progress with all their might. So it's important that we pay attention to politics, guys. We have to focus. Please join organizations in your area. Get involved in local politics. Google what races are going on and become as politically aware as you should be, as you can be. Diversify your political palette. Tune into different radio stations, different news organizations. Don't just watch news from one place every day and expect yourself to be informed. Like, do the work as an individual to help with our current political landscape right now. So that's all I got. And I will talk to you guys next week.